Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi rasulillahi ajma'in, amma ba'du. The Honorable, the Examiner and my Supervisor, Mr. Nuardi SPD MED. And let me introduce myself. My name is Ariska Ernida Putri. I'm from 5th semester of English Education Department. In this occasion, I would like to deliver an explanation about my proposal, and the title is about the correlation between students' perceptions of interaction and their learning performance at MTS Negeri 5 Rokan Hulu. Okay, we're going to the first is the background of the problem. According to Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English 2009, interaction is an activity of talking with other people and working together with them. As the activity, the interaction will be influenced by the relationship between each other. Therefore, English as a tool of communication to students' interaction who are learning in foreign language. And then, performance is about deploying and managing well the component of the causal model that leads to the timely attainment of state objective within constraints specific to the firm and to the situation, according to Lebas 1995. In generally, managing time will to take action with the aims of achieving specific learning outcomes in the process. So, based on the background, we can take the phenomena of them, such as the first is some of students were not achieved in learning English, and then some of students had no courage to ask the teacher. And the third is some of students did not really pay attention to the teacher's explanation in the classroom, and the last is some of students assume that the teacher seldom does the interaction to the students. And the next is limitation of the problem. Based on identifying the problem above, to the researcher focused on the how correlation between students' perceptions of interaction and students' performance in learning English. And the next is formulation of the problem. So there are the formulation of the problem of this research. The first is how is the students' perceptions of interaction at MTS Negeri 5 Rokan Hulu. And then, how is the students' performance to learn English at MTS Negeri 5 Rokan Hulu? And the last is there any significant correlation between students' perceptions of interaction and the students' performance in learning English at MTS Negeri 5 Rokan Hulu? And then we're going to the chapter 2. They're based on the Nelly et al. 1995. Efficiency and effectiveness of purposeful action. Meanwhile, performance is an action rather than individual to organize or perform directly, in which the word performs means that the work of action is functioning or badly. And then the term of interaction, based on the Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English 2009, interaction is an activity of talking with other people and working together with them. So as I mentioned before about the activity of interaction will be influenced by relationship between each other. And the next is about perception. According to Walgito 2010, states that perception is a process of sensory to human sense. In line with the opinion of Hartanto 2012, state the perception is individual understanding to vicinity environment by the way of stimulus through tools of sense, and then the individually process it until it can be realized. Okay, now we're going to chapter 3, the research methodology. The first is research design, the correlation of design. So this research using the correlation design According to Creswell, 2012, a correlation is a statistical test to determine the tendency or pattern for two or more variables or two sets of data to vary constantly. Nah, uh, the correlation design is procedure in quantitative research in which investigation measures the degree of relationship between two or more variables using the statistical procedure of correlation analysis. This method was used in this research because the data were described and analyzed based on the objective of the study specifically. The study investigated whether or not there is any correlation between interaction and students performance at MTS Negeri 5 Rokan Hulu. In conducting this research, correlation research was used the term of explanatory and prediction research designed to find out the correlation between variables and explain the interpret and apparent result. The procedure was that first the writer identified students' perceptions of interaction by using questionnaire. Next, for performance, the researcher identified the students about learning performance in English. Additionally, the writer conducted interviews with students' performance. The next step was the researchers found the correlation between variables through SPSS version 25. Less explanatory of the research were discussed. And the next is time and location. This research was conducted to the second year students of MTS Negeri 5 Rokan Hulu, and the school is located on Rokan Hulu, and time of research was on February 2002. And the next is technique of data collection. To gain the data about students' perception toward interaction and performance in learning English, the researcher used a questionnaire. This questionnaire consists of some questions for the respondents. Since the writer used Likert scale to measure the score, therefore the scoring of the questionnaire, the writer used Likert scale as the measure of students' opinion. According to Rancis Likert as quoted in Lodico et al. 2006, Likert scale is the most widely used scale in survey research and certainly the one that has found its way into popular culture. The use of this Likert scale is to obtain the agreement of the respondent. And the last is technique of data analysis. In analyzing the students' perceptions toward interaction and students' performance in learning English, the researcher used the statistical method. In this research, it was suggested by Sugiono, 2015, to use correlation coefficient contingency because the data were ordinal and ordinal. Meanwhile, in analyzing, measuring, and calculating the data, the writer used Statistical Product and Service Solution or SPSS 2025 for Windows. Okay, I think that's all my explanation about my proposal. And like I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.